life, there's some great mysteries. Who built the pyramids? And what material did they build them out of? More importantly, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? We would never know. But the one thing is for sure, Deflategate has sent people on edge, and everyone's trying to figure out, did they do it, did they not, and what should the punishment be? But I was thinking of one program, great program I used to watch, that could really depict this the way that most people might view it, especially if you're a Patriots fan.
Allow me to reconstruct this, if I may, for Miss Bennis, as I've heard this story a number of times. Newman, Kramer, if you'll indulge me. According to your story, Hernandez passes you and starts walking up the ramp. Mm-hmm. Then you say you were struck on the right temple. The spit then proceeds to ricochet off the temple, striking Newman between the third and the fourth rib. The spit then came off the rib, made a right turn, hitting Newman in the right wrist, causing him to drop his baseball cap. The spit then splashed off the wrist, pauses in midair, mind you, makes a left turn, and lands on Newman's left thigh. That is one magic loogie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program, Shannon Sharpe. Well, Shannon, I mean, I read your quotes and your word earlier this week when you talked about Deflategate and what should happen with the Patriots organization. And the fact of losing draft choices when Robert Kraft is BFFs with Roger Goodell. Do you think that's going to happen?
I think it has to. Everybody knows that the New England Patriots is the gold standard franchise. Everybody knows that Tom Brady is the model. But see, we've never had a situation where a Mount Rushmore quarterback or a person of Tom Brady's caliber has ever been ensnared in something that involves the integrity of the National Football League. Now, the commissioner this offseason, when he was going through what he was going through about not enough punishment for Adrian Peterson, not enough punishment for Greg Hardy or Ray Rice, he hired all these czars. He hired a lady that worked in the NYPD. I think she was a SVU, sexual assault. She handled that. He just hired the former head of the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. He doesn't need any of those people to help him decide what he needs to do with this. He already knows what he needs to do. The question is he going to do it?
Some of the wording is, and the language is kind of non-commensurate. When you hear the words like probable and likely, it just seems like it's a little inconclusive in saying, well, look, how much involvement.
Forget all that. Don't even think about probable. Don't even think greater than. Look at the text between the two individuals. Look at the text messaging. They're talking about underinflating the football. Equipment men don't do anything. Nick, you played. You know they don't tinker with your shoulder pads. They don't tinker with your cleats. They don't tinker with your helmet. Not one time. I played 14 years in the National Football League, and with the exception of the last year, I never put air in my helmet. So even when we went away or we came back home, I never had to worry about putting my helmet on and saying, Doug or Flip, it feels tight. Eddie Carroll, this feels tight on my head, because they knew not to put air in my helmet because I didn't want it.
Shannon, we got to ask you just straight up. This has been proven. I mean, there's no dancing around it anymore. The Wells report came out. What needs to happen to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, in your opinion? So let's say you're Roger Goodell, and I think we would all agree that would be a better world. You're Roger Goodell. You're the man in the chair. What are you doing? Just tell me straight up. What are you doing? How do you handle this?
Tom Brady is going to have to come in and convince me. He's going to be suspended for a minimum 2 or 4 games, but he's got to convince me why he doesn't get half a season.
And what can he say? What can he say to you, hypothetically? What can he say to you to keep it from being half of a season? You personally, what do you need to hear from him?
He's going to have to tell me I had no knowledge of this, Commissioner. I'm going to say, but okay, you say your agent says you don't know any of these ball boys. Why are you communicating with people that you know nothing of?
Right.
Why are you having 25-minute conversation with people you don't know? Why there's a 9-minute conversation with people you don't know, Tom?
Well, maybe he's just trying to be a stand-up guy.
Huh?
I said maybe he's just trying to be a nice guy, a man of the people. What if that's his response?
These people. How many times do you call a person and spend 9 minutes on the phone that you don't know, or 25 minutes on the phone that you don't know?
Yeah, never.
But Shannon,
so at that point in juncture, he can't convince me that he shouldn't get 4. So now I'm at 8. Now I get this. They said Mr. Kraft didn't have anything to do with it. Mr. Kraft is an awfully wealthy man, and for a man that's so wealthy, he'll know very little about his business. I find that very hard to believe. Bill Belichick knows everything. There's no stone that goes unturned in that building that Bill Belichick doesn't know about. And as the words of the commissioner told Sean Payton and the upper management of the New Orleans Saints, ignorance is not an excuse. If you didn't know, you should have known. See,
right.
Because when I handed down the punishment at Spygate, I took a first-round draft pick. I fined some people, but you learned absolutely nothing. Because here we are dealing with you again. And people say, well, this is nothing. Well, if it's nothing, why are the New England Patriots always involved in nothing?
Well, Shannon, but
why do we have to keep having, when it comes to integrity issues or questioning someone's credibility, it involves the New England Patriots? Now, he kicked Jim McKay off the competition committee for crowd noise. Jim McKay is general manager. He has no idea what the entertainment going into the the Georgia Dome, but he was voted off. They took a 5th round pick. They fined him. But we're talking about a quarterback that's going to touch the football on every single play. And I get it. They won the game. They could have been playing with a cannonball, but you're not punishing the outcome. You're punishing the intent. Why did you underinflate the football if it wasn't going to give you, or what you thought, a competitive advantage? Why would you do it? We don't do anything that we don't think we're going to get an advantage of. That's why people did. And see, don't give me look. See, and what's racking my mind, and people say, well, Tom Brady is the gold standard quarterback. Okay. It wasn't good enough. And people say, well, it wasn't good enough for Barry Bonds. He had 3 MVPs and was a 500 stolen base guy, but he wanted 7. Roger Clemens had 3 or 4 Cy Youngs, but he wanted 7. Look at A-Rod. A-Rod did it, got caught, and did it again. It's the same thing with the Patriots. They got ensnared in Spygate, and they did something to the. Look, I get it. It's not as bad, but it's in the rules. If it's unimportant, if pounds per square inch is unimportant to the football, take it out of the rule book, kind of like they're trying to do with the PAT. They say we have no more need for the PAT. They're trying to find a way to get it out. So if the pressure in the ball is unimportant, take it out. Let the guys play with a 20 pound per square inch ball, or 5 pound square inch ball. Whatever it is, let them have at it.
Yeah,
but if you got rules, they should be followed.
Yeah, but isn't that the kind of motto that society and sports has in general, when it says that if you're not cheating, you're not trying, and it's not cheating until you get caught? Isn't it something that's kind of promoted?
So don't say the system is flawed. Don't say, oh, well, what the NFL, the Colts tipped the NFL off, and the NFL didn't warn the Patriots. That's the whole purpose. Because if we warn you, you're going to say that's not true. So we wanted to let you go to see if you would actually use the balls that another team had already told us you were using. And lo and behold, you did exactly what they told us you were going to do. You used those footballs.
Yeah, but even at that time, Shannon, Roger Goodell held off the investigation while the Super Bowl took place. So to me, if I am Greg Hardy, if I'm Adrian Peterson, I'm Ray Rice, I'm looking at this situation, like what's Roger Goodell is going to do to satisfy me, not as a player who he suspended before.
Nick, here's the thing. This investigation wasn't going to happen before the Super Bowl. This investigation wasn't going to happen before free agency. It wasn't going to happen before the draft. He did not want, this is all everybody's talking about right now. So this will supersede, because you're talking about the Patriots, you're talking about an NFL team. So now this supersedes free agency. This supersedes the draft. He didn't want that. I don't care what anybody says. The investigation was thorough. 243 pages. It doesn't take almost 4 months to get this, because you're dealing with one team and a few individuals. You're not talking about a corporation that has 20,000 people and emails going to 500, 600 people. You're talking about text messages, probably between 3-4 people max. How many people could actually have contact with those footballs before the game? 3, 4, max. Who stood to benefit the most from having this done?
So does this change your image or tarnish Tom Brady and New England Patriots' legacy?
I look at it like this. I don't know how it doesn't, because he has, even if you say Spygate, he had no knowledge of Spygate. How does he get around this?
Now, he's in this one. I mean, the whole report came out and said it was his fault.
Look, exactly. How does he get out of this? How does he escape saying, "Well, I knew nothing about this"? And I want to leave you with this. When he did his interview, right after this allegation came out, a reporter asked him, "Tom, do you consider yourself a cheater?" "I don't believe so."
That seems like a pretty cut and dry yes or no.
I don't believe so. Go back and play it. They ask him, "Tom, are you a cheater?" "I don't believe so." "Shannon, are you a cheater?" "No, absolutely not." "Did you have anything to do?" "Absolutely not." "You want to take a look at my phone log? You want to look at my text messages?"
Don't you think that maybe he should have practiced that question? He should have practiced answering that question in the mirror. Had Giselle say, "Tom, are you a cheater?" And he'd been like, "No, I am not." Was he completely unprepared for that? Was he trying to be politically correct? There was no benefit in answering the question that way. You know what they need to do, Shannon? They need to call the National Guard.
And that's the problem right there. Just look, if you do something, you got caught. Now, and the Pats fans, well, we're not the only one that's doing it. That's the syndrome. We're not the only one doing it syndrome, but you got caught. So now it's you to answer for your repercussions. Repercussions have consequences. You did this. You knew this was against the rules. So whatever the punishment the commissioner deemed appropriate, gladly accept it. Stop trying to skirt and there's no hardcore proof. In the courtroom, they say reasonable doubt. They don't say all doubt. We got enough probable cause here, Tom Brady. We got enough probable cause here, bro. I'm sorry. And you put yourself in this situation. And because what did they learn by losing a first-round draft pick when they had 3? They took the latter of the 3. What did they learn from being fined? Absolutely nothing. Because most people, most corporations, if you do something, you get punished. You're like, "I'm not doing that anymore. I've learned my lesson." Hey, the commissioner said he won't tolerate any misgivings that goes to the credibility and the integrity of the National Football League. Now, he stood up on the tallest box he could find in September and October and said this new personal conduct policy, because what's happening off the field is giving the league a black eye. And I don't condone what Ray Rice did. I thought Ray Rice should have got more games. Adrian Peterson, I don't condone. Or Greg Hardy, I don't condone what they did. But how does what they did off the field goes to the integrity of the National Football League on the field? Was Ray Rice trying to gain a competitive advantage? Was Adrian Peterson trying to gain a competitive advantage? No, he wasn't. So we know what you say, how, you hold the NFL because we are role models and you hold them to a high standard. Okay. So what's the standard for cheating? How high of a standard is that being held to?
Yeah, that's a great point. Everybody's being held to a different standard. And like you said, it's not okay what those other men did, but wrong is wrong and right is right. There's really no gray area, and they're clearly in the wrong here. So are they going to be disciplined or not? So let me ask you this, Shannon. I asked you how you would personally handle it. Now tell me what you think is going to happen. Not what you want to happen, but the punishment that you think is going to occur.
I do think Tom Brady will get suspended between 2 and 4 games. I do think the team will be fined, and I think they'll lose a draft pick. Probably not a 1, but I do think the team will be fined. Brady will be suspended, and they will lose a draft pick.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.